Hello there, friends. It's good to be back. So, you might have noticed my absence, both from the website, podcast, daily channel, and Twitter for a little bit. My absence from the website and the podcast is simply because I took a week off for my birthday. I had a very, very nice time, spent some time down in Kent in a lovely manner. It was great, had a wonderful time. And my absence from Twitter was not of my own volition, however, because I was under appeal, because I'd had a report against a post that I had put up a good few weeks ago at this point. At the time of recording, it's over a month, which was this. This was in response to the Bob Vylan controversy that was big at the time, where he'd gone up on stage at Glastonbury and said, "Death, death to the IDF," and got people to chant along with that, and that got all of the media attention, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Richard Tice and Nigel Farage were absolutely furious, whereas the mainstream response to it was entirely focused on that, despite the fact that all of his songs were anti-English and pro-mass immigration and shifting demographics in the UK. So I had put up a joking post saying, kill Whitey gets the little snoozy face, kill the IDF gets the angry face. Now, I don't think necessarily either of these sentiments are good at all. I think that mass calls to violence for anybody is not a good thing, whether it's coming from English people, black people, Jewish people, Palestinian people, anybody involved in any of these big narratives that are going around. I don't think that's good, but it was clearly a joke, mocking the media perception of all of this. That got reported as violent speech. I put in an appeal saying, hey, it's literally a joke, bro. I thought jokes were free now, Elon. I thought they were legal. Apparently not. They rejected it, and I had to accept it eventually. But that's not necessarily the main story, although I do like the free speech absolutist Elon Musk still owns a website in which jokes are definitely not legal, and context and nuance is not being very well handled by whichever Indian interns on H-1B visas that he has looking over the appeals process right now. But that's neither here nor there. What I actually wanted to highlight was that the period of time in which I was off Twitter for about 2 weeks, and I did, I'll admit, purposefully extend that a little bit, because it was really nice. It was really nice existing offline for an extended period of time for the first time in years. Of course, I know the importance of logging off already, and I took a few days off at a time, 1 or 2 days a week. I would make sure to try not to look at my phone as much. But the problem is, and this is a very, very modern problem, and this is something that a lot of people can fall down the rabbit hole of with any social media, not just Twitter, but Twitter's a particularly bad one because of the environment that it fosters, where everybody's arguing and everybody's getting into these very heated and emotional discussions, is that it can become addictive. You can get this habit that you develop of always checking your phone for your notifications, especially when you're like me and you have a slightly bigger audience, so you can put a post out and lots of people can respond to it, agreeing and disagreeing, and you can begin to engage with them. So you can develop this really bad habit of existing online first, whereas the real world begins to fade out a little bit. You get your blinkers on. And this is something that's not unique to me. This is something that not even that I was particularly bad for it, but this is something that a lot of people have commented on, and I just wanted to reaffirm and advise everybody now that taking an extended break from social media and the internet in general can be very, very good for you. Of course, if you're watching this, you probably already know that, but for those of you who do find yourself slipping into unhealthy habits, if it's not Twitter, it might be Facebook, it might be Instagram, it might even just be YouTube or anything like that, because people still get into big arguments in YouTube comments. I do see it happening every so often, is that it can really draw you in, it can agitate you, it can get you all emotionally flared up, and it can become addictive in a sense, because if you get people agreeing with you, you start to get an addiction to that dopamine rush that comes with it. If you get people disagreeing with you, then you can get very, very hard into trying to get people to try to change their minds. And social media is not healthy whatsoever. it really is designed to kind of morph your brain in a really, really unhealthy way. And again, getting those blinkers on in the real world, you can find yourself neglecting your real life commitments, the people around you. You can find yourself getting sucked into discussions that they really don't care about. And no matter how important it may feel to you, it can be off-putting and it can be distressing to other people. And the fact is, if you take extended breaks, you might miss a little bit. But the fact of the matter is that Twitter is a self-contained ecosystem. Many of these social media platforms are self-contained ecosystems where things happen on them that only matter on those platforms to other people on those platforms who invest too much time in them. It kind of follows that Pareto principle. About 20% of anything that will be being shared on Twitter at any one time is probably important and is news that you will not get anywhere else on the mainstream media. So you can get people reporting about big events like Epping, for instance, which in my time off from social media, I was trying to make sure to keep up with some things and look at the newspapers and such. I didn't see that on the front pages very much. I didn't see that reported on very much, just casually. I wasn't searching for this, but it was a story that I kind of missed while I was off. And I would say that events like Epping and riots and tensions in the country are things that you should be informed about. But that's the 20%, and you can always catch up with it. The rest of the 80% is going to be people arguing pointlessly about things that don't matter, that flare up to get their 5 minutes hate, and then change with the news cycle. This is something that I've complained about for a little while now, which is that people get very, very emotionally invested in stories that 24 hours later, because that's the speed of the news cycle, if not faster these days because of the way that Twitter and other social media is set up, will not matter. And even the bigger stories that people get very, very invested in, like at the beginning of this year, I remember everybody getting really invested in Elon Musk highlighting the grooming gang scandals that have happened in the UK. And I never put much faith into that because it was something that appeared to me at the time to exist only online, to be being amplified only by people who were online. It was being pushed by a guy who doesn't live in England, who doesn't visit England very often, frankly didn't seem to have much investment in England, and was using it mainly as a diversionary tactic from the fact that he'd made some very impolitic comments about the H-1B visa program and the work ethic of Americans in general. So I saw it as a distraction technique, and I said, listen, the sad fact of the matter is that in a week or a month at tops by now, this will have made no major impact, will have led to no practical action, and everyone will have forgotten about it. And sadly, I was proven quite right in that. You don't see many people talking about it these days. Obviously, some parties like Reform and the Restore Britain movement still want a larger inquiry going into the grooming gangs, but they would want that with or without Elon Musk boosting the profile of it, which again, he ended up switching and moving on to whatever occupied his mind. So people can get dragged along by these narratives, and then you get into the even pettier stuff, because at least the grooming gangs scandal is a genuine scandal that has great national importance in Britain and elsewhere in Europe as well, to be honest. Then you get into this petty stuff, some of the stuff which frankly is amplified by this podcast and this channel. And I don't say that lightly because this is my job, but frankly, a lot of what people get all in a fuss about online is pointless, completely pointless. There's this Sydney Sweeney's advertising jeans now. Oh my God, we're finally winning, guys. No, I'm not going to celebrate that some jeans company has realized that if you put sexy women in your advertising, things sell more. What a revelation! No one's ever figured out that before. Just because a company has decided to signal the opposite direction to generate more profits for this summer quarter doesn't mean that suddenly we're winning in any way. The people who are staffing and make up the control of that company are still the same people that they ever were. They change with the times based on what appears to benefit their profit margins best. And during the woke era, the peak woke era, that was woke messaging. Turned out that didn't work very well, so let's just go back to type. Put a sexy woman with tits in it. Amazing. It's better, I will admit, than make it lame, put a woman in it, make it gay. You know, it's better than that. But it doesn't mean that we've shifted anything. Not really, because the institutional problems and the broader societal problems that we experience due to an influx of mass immigration, the destruction of our culture, the complete abandonment of any sort of spiritual life in favour of materialism and consumerism, that's all there, and this is actually only playing into the consumerism of our times. So people getting excited about this, people acting like this is some kind of huge victory, is one, only very fleeting, and two, completely pointless. Nothing has changed, our problems haven't been solved, and detaching yourself from the hysteria of the online sphere for a short time is a good way of cleansing your mind of that. So yes, you will miss some things, but again, that 20% of actual quality, important stuff that you don't necessarily get from the mainstream media, it will still be there when you get back, and everything else is going to be emotional rubbish that will take up your emotional and mental bandwidth in a really unhealthy and negative way. And I know that hopefully most of you watching this won't have needed this message. You won't have needed to know that logging off is great. I'm looking forward to looking through the comments of this and seeing loads of people going, oh my god, this is the most obvious thing ever, Harry, shut up. But I know for a fact that there are lots of people who get sucked into it. I'm not the worst I've ever met, but I get sucked into it myself. It's a very easy thing to do. These platforms are designed to do it. So if this does encourage you to take a week or two off of social media and spend that time being more productive elsewhere in your life, it will help to focus your mind. If you can get yourself out of that habit of checking your phone for notifications every 5 or 10 minutes, that'll be a habit that you can stick with afterwards, and you can much more easily manage whatever social media consumption that you have from there, as long as you stick to that habit. But once you've ingrained a habit for a week or two, it's easier to stick to that habit. So please recognize the importance of logging off every once in a while and enjoying the little things and spending much more important time with your family, friends, people in the real world who you really care about.